Welcome to Relation Tales. Please like this video and subscribe Relation Tales. We're grateful for each and every one of you. Let us know where in the world you're tuning in from. We'd love to hear from you in the comments. Let's begin. They say betrayal doesn't scream, it whispers. And in my case, it started with silence. The kind of silence that stretches across a dinner table like a thick fog, choking every word before it's spoken. My name is Gavin Hart, and before everything unraveled, I was just a man in love with the woman I thought I'd grow old with. We met when we were 22, Camila Rivers and I. The kind of whirlwind connection that people write songs about. We were electric, magnetic. Our friends envied what we had. We were the couple everyone believed would never fade. We lived in a small but sunlit apartment in Midtown, shared secondhand furniture, and built dreams on leftover takeout and couch cuddles. I worked long hours building my startup, a digital logistics firm I had started with just a laptop and a stubborn dream. Camila, at the time, was working part-time in an interior design firm while running a wellness blog on the side. She was brilliant, charming, stylish, endlessly curious. I admired her. I respected her. Hell, I worshipped her. Every morning I'd wake before her, just to sit in the kitchen with a cup of coffee and look at her while she slept. Peaceful, innocent, mine. But peace is always borrowed, and innocence, often a mask. The first signs weren't dramatic. They were subtle. Delays in replies. A turned shoulder in bed. Conversations that used to stretch for hours now died after a few forced sentences. I blamed myself at first. Told myself she was stressed, or maybe she just needed space. I gave her that. Too much, perhaps. I started noticing things. Camila suddenly cared more about how she looked. Always dressed to kill, even on casual brunches with friends. She became secretive with her phone, started locking it, carrying it everywhere, even into the shower. Her laugh changed too. Softer, lighter. Not for me anymore. Still, I tried. God, I tried. I planned date nights. Made her favorite meals. Booked us a weekend getaway to the coast. I was doing everything short of begging her to still love me. But love, real love, it doesn't have to be begged for. Then came the night that turned my world inside out. It was a Friday. I had just landed a massive client deal, one that could change the entire trajectory of my company. I rushed home early, champagne in hand, heart racing like a kid. I wanted to surprise her, but she beat me to the surprise. I walked into our bedroom to find her on a video call, her face flushed, her voice in a whisper. But it was the look in her eyes that killed me. She didn't look shocked when I walked in. She looked annoyed. "Gavin," she said flatly, "do you mind?" She wasn't talking to me. I didn't say a word, just looked at the screen and saw him, a man in his 40s, smirking, shirtless. The video cut off instantly. I stood there, holding the champagne like an idiot. "That's who you are now?" I asked quietly. She didn't apologize, didn't stutter. "I told you I needed more. You weren't giving it." "Giving what?" "My soul, my lungs. You already have my damn heart." She didn't cry, just walked out the room, like I was some inconvenience in her life. That was the night I died, and the night a new man was born. I didn't yell. I didn't break things. I didn't even cry. Instead, I started a plan. Camila thought she had me wrapped around her finger. What she didn't realize was I was already letting the rope burn. You don't truly understand rage until you realize you sacrifice your dreams for someone who never intended to stay. That night, after she walked past me like I didn't matter, I sat in the dark. The untouched champagne still cold in my hand, condensation dripping down like slow, cruel tears. Every second ticked like a gun, cocking behind my ear. I wasn't just heartbroken. I was insulted. Camila had made her decision, but she had made one miscalculation. She thought I was weak. She forgot who I was before I loved her, before I softened myself, bent myself backward, killed my own fire just to keep her warm, before I gave up everything to build us. That version of Gavin, the one who had nothing to lose, nothing to protect, that man was dangerous. But I didn't act impulsively. No, I spent the next few weeks in silence. I pretended. I gave her space. I smiled when I needed to, slept beside her without touching her. I played the role of the clueless, broken husband. Meanwhile, I began uncovering the truth behind the man in the video call. His name was Preston Vale, mid-40s, a venture capitalist known for investing in early-stage fashion and lifestyle startups. Divorced, filthy rich, and married, again, until 3 months ago. It didn't take long to find out how they met. Camila had pitched her wellness blog at an event Preston attended. One dinner meeting turned into 5. Business proposals turned into flirty texts. Soon enough, he was her mentor. It was laughable. She traded a man building something real for a man who collected pretty distractions like wine bottles. But the betrayal wasn't just emotional, it was tactical. She'd been taking money from our joint account, funding secret meetups, buying luxury items I never saw. She even tried to pawn off shares from my company, shares I had gifted her during our build-together phase. That was my breaking point. I stopped sleeping. I stopped eating the way I should. But I didn't collapse. I evolved. I became surgical. I documented everything. Every expense, every shady transaction. I pulled bank records, called in a forensic accountant, built a complete digital trail of her lies. I wasn't going to confront her. Not yet. No. I wanted her to walk blindly in her own trap. And she did. Meanwhile, she had no clue what I knew. She strutted around the apartment like she owned it. Always dressed for someone else. Lipstick shades I'd never seen her wear before. Perfumes I didn't recognize. She began spending nights away, claiming they were collaborative retreats for a blog brand. I knew exactly where she was. I had someone watching her. I paid a discreet private investigator, Claire, a sharp single mother of 2, who had once worked for my startup security team. She was precise and silent. Within days, I had pictures. Dozens. Camila, wrapped in Preston's arms, laughing in his convertible, kissing him outside a penthouse hotel. It was all there. She thought she was playing a game. But the truth was, I was playing a war. At work, no one knew. I wore my best suits, closed high-level deals, smiled in boardrooms. But at night, I stared into my laptop, crafting a revenge so clean it would slice her in half and leave her wondering where the blade came from. But even with all that rage inside me, the pain still lingered. You see, it's not just the betrayal that breaks you. It's the realization that the person you once held in your arms with complete trust was lying the entire time. I'd wake in the middle of the night, hearing her soft breathing next to me, wondering how long she had stopped loving me, if she ever truly did. There was one night, I remember, she reached over and rested her hand on my chest. It used to be a gesture that calmed me. But that night, it felt like a lie. Like her palm was pressing down to silence the last flicker of hope in my heart. I stared at the ceiling for hours, but I didn't push her hand away. Not yet. Instead, I imagined the day I would. The first real crack in her mask came on a Tuesday morning. Camila sat across from me at breakfast, her silk robe hanging loose, her hair in a perfect wave of deliberate messiness. She looked up from her phone and said, "Gavin, can we talk about splitting the accounts?" I sipped my coffee, hiding the fury that surged behind my ribs. "Sure," I said calmly. "What did you have in mind?" She blinked, clearly thrown off by my lack of resistance. "Well, I just think it's healthier. I want to be more financially independent." I nodded. "Of course. I'll have my lawyer draw up the documents." She smiled, relieved. "Thanks. I just want us to grow, as individuals." I smiled back. "Oh, we'll grow." That very afternoon, I contacted my lawyer and started restructuring my assets. I liquidated joint accounts, froze shared credit cards, and began moving my business into a protective trust under my name only. Quietly, legally, perfectly. But I wasn't done yet. See, I had bigger plans. My company had just signed a strategic merger with a firm Preston was also bidding to acquire. He had no idea I was part of the competing acquisition. So I used that. I made offers he couldn't match, undercut his proposals. Publicly, anonymously, I dismantled the deal he had been chasing for months. One by one, I started peeling away the layers of his empire. I knew the next time he looked at his collapsing portfolio, he'd have no idea that the reason was the husband of the woman he stole. And I wasn't finished. But just as I was tightening the noose, Camila made her next move. She came home early one evening, her expression oddly composed. I was at my desk, typing when she walked in. "Gavin," she said softly, "I think we should separate." I stared at her. Let her speak. I don't think we're working anymore, and I don't want to waste our time pretending. Her eyes were cold, calculated. "I've met someone," she added, not even trying to soften it, "and I think I deserve to be happy." I leaned back in my chair. "And you think you'll find happiness with Preston?" Her eyes flickered. She didn't expect that. You know, I've always known. She was silent. I stood up and walked to her, close enough to see the twitch in her jaw. You thought I'd beg you to stay? Cry? Fight? She took a step back. I already filed for divorce. Weeks ago. What? I handed her an envelope. Those are the documents. My lawyer's handling everything. You'll find that your name is no longer on any of the assets you try to siphon. And you'll also find you have no claim over my company. Her face paled. You see, I whispered, leaning in, I stopped being your husband the day you started sleeping with a ghost. Camila didn't cry. Not right away. She just stood there, stunned, as her kingdom burned quietly behind her. And I walked out of the room. Free. Camila didn't say anything as I left her standing in that room, clutching the divorce papers like a drowning woman gripping driftwood. For the first time in a long time, I was the one in control. And she knew it. I moved out that night. Not because I had to, but because I wanted her to sit in that silence. Alone. Surrounded by the life she thought she could manage without me. Surrounded by echoes of the man she betrayed. The apartment, though legally mine, was no longer sacred. It had become the stage of her lies. The hallway reeked of her expensive perfume, and every drawer I opened was lined with memories I didn't ask to revisit. So I packed a single bag, walked out the door, and left behind the ashes of a version of me that no longer existed. I moved into a penthouse downtown that overlooked the city skyline. Floor-to-ceiling windows. Modern, minimalistic decor. Cold steel. Clean lines. It was a space that reflected who I had become, sharper, more focused, and no longer tethered to anyone else's version of me. Within days, the legal process was underway. My lawyer, Vincent Rhodes, was a shark in a tailored suit who had a personal vendetta against liars. He'd been cheated on once, and he made a career out of making people like Camila pay. I gave him every document, every photo, every recorded conversation. He didn't flinch. This is art, he said, flipping through the folder. We'll bury her without lifting a shovel. Meanwhile, Camila started to crack. She messaged me. For small things. Can we talk? Then guilt-wrapped nostalgia. I miss our Sunday mornings. Then panic. You froze the accounts. I can't pay my rent. Is this your idea of revenge? No, I thought. Not even close. Preston, the man she abandoned me for, began to fade too. The cracks were already forming in her fantasy. She had believed she was leveling up, trading loyalty for luxury. But Preston was no savior. He was a collector, and she had become another item in his display case. Pretty, replaceable, and, soon, obsolete. She didn't know what hit her until he stopped answering her calls. Until the weekend trips turned into dry texts and one-word replies. Until she walked into his office one day and found another woman sitting on his lap, laughing. She stormed out that day, furious, heartbroken, humiliated. And for the first time in years, I didn't care. But fate is rarely done when it senses your peace. One afternoon, while I was in a boardroom discussing expansion strategy, I got a call. It was Claire, my private investigator. You might want to see this, she said. She sent me a photo. Camila, outside my old apartment, crying, in the rain, alone, no umbrella, no purse, just a broken expression and a phone clutched in her hand, like it was the only thing keeping her from falling apart. But I didn't reply. I didn't rush to comfort her. I didn't even think of calling, because by then, I had learned something important. Not every fall deserves to be caught. Instead, I focused on my healing. Therapy helped. So did cutting ties with mutual friends who still clung to her story. I stopped defending myself. Stopped explaining. If they wanted to believe she was just going through a phase, so be it. Let them go down with her. I picked up painting, something I hadn't done since college. I went to the gym religiously, not to impress anyone, but to rebuild discipline. And slowly, the fog lifted. But one thing remained. Preston Vale. He had humiliated me, profited from my pain, moved through the world like nothing touched him. That wouldn't do. You see, while Camila's betrayal cut deep, it was him who made it personal. He knew she was married, knew I existed. He had sat across from me once at a business mixer and smiled, like a snake hiding beneath fine leather shoes. So I made a decision. He'd feel everything. It started quietly. First, I reached out to a journalist friend of mine, Lauren Brenner, who ran a popular financial ethics column. I handed her the entire package. Preston's fake offshore holdings, his bribes to secure a textile contract in Dubai, his shady consulting deals with shell companies. But I wasn't sloppy. I made sure it all came from anonymous sources. The press had a field day. Within a week, 3 of his investors pulled out. His stock in 2 private firms dropped 40%. I watched his empire buckle from my office window. Then I went one step further. I bought the penthouse unit directly above his, quietly, under a shell name. And every night, I hosted private rooftop dinners with powerful people he had tried to court for years. I told them stories, showed them proof, laid all bare. He wasn't just losing his money. He was losing credibility. One night, I left a gift at his door, a bottle of the same bourbon we once shared at a business dinner, with a note from a man you thought was replaceable. He never replied. But days later, his assistant filed a report. Preston had been placed under investigation for securities fraud. It wasn't over yet, but had begun. Then, Camila called me. Not a text, not a voicemail, a real call. I let it ring, let her feel the weight of time, then answered. Gavin. Her voice was small, tired. Yes, I know I don't deserve anything from you. I needed to hear your voice. I didn't speak. I messed up, she whispered. You were the best thing that ever happened to me. And I threw it away for, I don't even know what. Still, I didn't speak. I'm not asking for another chance, she said. I know that's gone. But I just wanted you to know I never stopped loving you. Finally, I responded. You didn't love me, Camila, I said gently. You loved the version of me that served you. When that version stopped being convenient, you left. Silence. Then a small breath. Are you happy now? That question. Not did I hurt you. Not can I fix this. Just are you happy now? I didn't answer her. Not directly. Instead, I told her something that shattered what was left of her fantasy. Preston's being investigated. His reputation is gone. He lost the Dubai deal. And the woman who replaced you? She's 24, a model, and already has her own company. You weren't special to him. You were just next. The sound of her breath hitching on the line was all the confirmation I needed. You were right about one thing, though, I added. You do deserve to be happy. Just not with me. Click. I blocked her number. And in that moment, I didn't feel triumphant. I didn't feel cruel. I felt free. 4 weeks after that final call with Camila, the silence was absolute. No more texts. No more sightings. It was like she had finally accepted the truth, that she had become a memory, and I wasn't going to revisit her chapter again. I thought I'd feel relief, maybe even joy. But the strange thing about revenge is, it doesn't always heal you. Sometimes, it just teaches you how deep your wounds really go. I'd sit alone at night, overlooking the skyline from my penthouse, watching the city flicker with thousands of lives, and I'd wonder, was I better now? Stronger? Or just colder? The answer came in the form of a letter. A handwritten envelope slid under my door late one night. No name, no return address. The penmanship was familiar, curved, delicate, dramatic. I knew it was from her. For a moment, I just stared at it. My chest tightened. I considered tossing it straight into the fire, but something in me hesitated. I opened it. Dear Gavin, this isn't a plea or an apology. I've said those already. This is just me, trying to explain the parts of me that even I didn't understand back then. You were always enough. I just didn't believe I deserved someone who saw me so clearly. Preston didn't offer love. He offered distraction, and I was weak enough to take it. And by the time I realized I was wrong, you had already started becoming the man I always feared you'd become. Powerful, self-assured, untouchable. I see you everywhere now, in the way other men fall short, in the quiet moments when no one's watching. I don't want you back. I just wanted you to know. I regret it. Not because I lost you, but because I destroyed something sacred. Asterisk, I hope your silence means peace, not punishment. Camila. Asterisk. I read it twice. Then I folded it neatly, slid it into a drawer, and locked it away. Because forgiveness wasn't the reward she needed. My silence was. Meanwhile, Preston's empire fully collapsed. The investigations led to public lawsuits, and within 2 months, 3 major publications tore into his reputation. One of his ex-wives came forward with fraud allegations. A former assistant leaked compromising audio. By the end of the quarter, Preston had liquidated most of his assets and disappeared from the public eye. I never laid a hand on him. never sent a single threat. But I took everything that made him powerful, his image, his leverage, his illusion of control. I did it quietly. The most lethal revenge is the one they never see coming. Then came the most unexpected twist of all. A woman named Alina walked into my life. And she wasn't a whirlwind or a siren like Camila. She was something different. She was calm, honest, unfiltered. We met at an art gallery. Ironically, the same place Camila once dragged me into out of boredom. But Alina? She stood there admiring a sculpture like she was listening to music only she could hear. We struck up a conversation. She wasn't interested in what I did for work. She asked me about color, about shapes, about what I saw when I closed my eyes. We talked for 3 hours. Then again the next day. Then again. And again. I told her my story, not all of it, not at first, but enough for her to know I was someone who had been through a war. She didn't flinch. One night, over coffee, she said something that made me pause. You know, just because someone handed you a broken mirror doesn't mean your reflection is ruined. I didn't respond. I just looked at her, and for the first time in years, I felt something more than anger. I felt hope. The final piece of this story wasn't a confrontation. It wasn't a courtroom scene or a last-ditch plea. It was a quiet morning in October. I got up before the sun, made coffee, sat by the window, and I didn't think about Camila. Not once. I didn't wonder where she was or who she was with. I didn't replay the betrayal or analyze every lie. I didn't feel rage or sorrow or pity. I just was. I was me again, but not the version she once knew. Not the man who bent backward, who swallowed pain for peace, who sacrificed his joy for hers. No, I had become someone new, someone forged in fire and rebuilt in silence. And that was the real revenge. Because Camila would always remember me as the man who would have given her the world. But she'd never touch that world again. Alina and I eventually began a relationship, but it didn't feel like replacing something old. It felt like learning how to live all over again. She didn't heal me. She reminded me that I was worth healing. And one night, as we lay under the stars on my rooftop, far above the noise and chaos, I whispered a truth I hadn't admitted to anyone, not even myself. I'm not angry anymore. And that's when I knew. I had won. Not because I destroyed the people who hurt me, but because I refused to let their betrayal define the rest of my life. And maybe that's the message I wish I could give to anyone who's ever been betrayed, humiliated, or left behind. You don't need to burn down the past to move on. You just need to stop feeding the flame.